And Haliburton, I have found if he doesn't have an obvious weak spot to pick on in terms of the opponent's perimeter defenders, he can get a little passive. I think about what was really interesting to me in that game, the Knicks, game 5 where the Knicks won. Jalen Brunson was in foul trouble in the fourth quarter, and there was just a lot of minutes with no Brunson on the court, but Karl Anthony Towns on the court. And with Brunson off the court, the Knicks made their run. And I was kind of like, my take after that game was, I think the Knicks got kind of lucky in Brunson getting hurt and then just coming in for the final minute and a half and hitting a couple of clutch shots. And that was sort of like the perfect Brunson formula there, because without Brunson out there, Haliburton kind of just got off the ball early in possessions, ended up standing off to the side on the sideline and stuff and sort of watching stuff happen where you would have thought, okay, well, yeah, Brunson's off the court, but just bring Cat into the action and go after him, which he's obviously capable of doing and has done. But it just, I think he has to think about it a little bit more if that guy isn't, that obvious target isn't out there on the perimeter. So what does that mean for the Thunder? They don't have that obvious guy on the perimeter. Even the guy that you would be like, Shea, he's pretty good defensively. He's not a guy that you could target, and his size and his length and his strength and all of that can be a problem for Haliburton. I'll be interested to see, though, if they just try to do it anyway. Because it's one thing to be like, we're expecting to attack guys like Brunson or Damian Lillard or Darius Garland or whoever these guys are. It's another one to go in, and then those guys are out for whatever reason. And you're like, oh, what do we do now? Where you're going into this Thunder series and you say, we know that there's no weak spots on the perimeter unless they bring Isaiah Joe in, who's not even that bad of a defender, but he would be the weak spot. But to start these games, there's no weak spot. So what do we do about it? Do they start attacking Shea early just to get him to work? Or do they say, that guy's not out there, but they're going to start their two bigs, and maybe that's a spot for us? And now we start attacking things a little bit more traditionally with 1-5 pick and roll. Hope that Hartenstein goes drop, or even if he does switch out, which he's more than capable of, but that would be sort of, we kind of still like that matchup of Haliburton on the perimeter against Hartenstein, and maybe they go there. But it's a great call out, and I think it's a great first pick, because if he's not involved, to your point, Mike, like, who else is going to win this series for Indiana? It doesn't feel possible.
Yeah, you can have, a Nesmith game. You can have a Nembhard game, but you're not going to get 4 such games in a series out of 7, right? And so it really all does start there. And your point about Shea is one I made today as well, where it's like, yeah, he is their worst defender in the starting unit, and he also received all defensive team votes this season, right? Like, it's outrageous when you think about, like, how few opportunities there are. And, tagging on to your Hartenstein thing, which was another X factor I had too, was and I'll just combine these, but like Hartenstein's minutes, I think, are going to be super interesting to watch, because he does provide the most natural place for Haliburton to attack in a conventional kind of pick and roll offense, right? And I think that Hartenstein only played like 14 minutes in their second meeting in the regular season, which is crazy when you consider that Holmgren wasn't available for either of them. So something that Coach Mark Daigneault saw in there was like, hey, like, we're just going to put him on the bench because he's just giving them too much of a way to run what Indiana wants to run, which is like this, like, pick and roll centric makes it sound old school. And that's not quite right. This is brand of chaos. Everybody's running, everybody's setting screens, but Hartenstein is at the center of it all when he's on the court. And we saw his minutes drop all playoffs. They're down several in the aggregate. He's had several games in the teens. So I don't want this to be a referendum on Hartenstein as a player. He's been super valuable to them all season long. He was invaluable to them against Denver, but this probably isn't going to be the series for him.
All right, I agree with you. And that's the scary part with Oklahoma City, where it's like, oh, Hartenstein's not working? No problem. We'll just go to any of our other looks. Yeah. Like, it's not an issue for them. Like, okay, you're playing 13 minutes a game. Not a big deal.
Exactly.
My first pick in our X Factor draft, and I'm going to get weird right away.
Oh, I love it.
The Tyrese Haliburton jump pass.
Oh, nice.
This, to me, is going to be a huge X Factor, and I guarantee you, Mike, it's going to be a storyline in this series, because it's been it's been a story thing. It's been a thing that Indiana fans will point to. And Tyrese Haliburton, he made the jump pass a bad thing into a good thing. It's this kind of his
shout
weird,
out Caitlin
like,
Cooper. Yeah.
Yep. Caitlin Cooper's been all over it. And he loves the jump pass. He's turned it into like this. It's not his main superpower, right? It's not like Spider-Man's web, where it's like that's the thing he's known for, but it's more like, oh, he could also do like that cool like 15-foot backflip. That's sort of the Haliburton superpower. But the interesting thing about the jump pass in regards to this series against the Thunder, Oklahoma City obviously thrives at turning teams over, right? That's their bread and butter. It's what they do. But they do it a lot with just how anticipatory they are. They know the opponent's actions. They're able to scout it. Lou Dort has been on the record about this, about how how much film this team crunches defensively, and then also just their instincts are just out of this world, off the charts. Just timing, instincts, all that stuff, strength, quickness, physical traits. I'm interested to see how that looks against the Pacers, though, because the Pacers are sort of this random flow offense where they do things in a manner that other teams don't really do them. They don't really follow the same patterns of other NBA offenses, and that's what takes other teams by surprise, puts other defenses on their heels so early in this series. And it's why they've been able to start every series by stealing at least one game on the road, is because it just feels like there's an adjustment period. So I say all that to just say, like, one of the key ways they do that is the Haliburton jump pass, right? He'll take that jump pass, he'll be going one way, jump, turn his body 180 degrees and throw it in a different direction, where 99% of point guards would have thrown it on to the other side of the court. Haliburton's finding all these other angles and these other passes that other point guards don't find. And I just wonder, does this remain a superpower for him, where all of a sudden he's jump passing with his length and all this stuff past the pressure, jump passing over the pressure, finding those backdoor cutters that other teams just haven't managed to find because they're so pressured at the half court and in full court? Or does he start jump passing? The Thunder have scouted this so well and are so ready for it that it goes from superpower to, oh, this is why nobody does the jump pass, because now in the middle of the air, and by the time he's up in the air with that jump pass, you've got Lou Dort or Alex Caruso or one of these guys right in the middle of that passing lane, ready to pick it off for a pick six. I think that'll be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's a really fun example. And I think it's a perfect encapsulation of like the micro, whereas the macro is like he just has to be creative to be effective in the series because he's not going to have a physical advantage, right? Like Haliburton is used to not being the fastest or the strongest guy out there. He usually succeeds by being incredibly clever and being incredibly creative, as like with the jump pass. But this Thunder team, it just has so much reactionary power. You know what I mean? Like, anything that they see coming, they're so quick, they're so long, they're so connected on a string that they can take away that stuff in a split second. And that's all you have when you're in the air, right? When Haliburton launches in the air, he just has a split second to make that window. And it'll be a fascinating test of the Thunder's reactionary skills versus Haliburton's superpower, like you said. So I think that's a really good encapsulation of like just the sheer lengths that Haliburton is going to have to go to find success, because he's never going to be blowing by guys. He's not going to be overpowering them, but he needs to find ways to think four-dimensionally in order to win. Like you said, the jump pass was verboten for so long, and then Haliburton came along and made it like part of his arsenal, a real weapon. So we'll see how it holds up.
If it does become the storyline like I predict, where the broadcast team and the pregame show are all starting to talk about it, one of these people need to hire Caitlin Cooper to do like a whole expose on it, because she's been ahead of it. You have the next pick.
So I think for number 2, I want to talk about arguably the Thunder's only defensive weakness. Leaving aside defensive rebounding, right? Which is its own thing. They basically solve whenever Hartenstein's in the game. They're good at defensive rebounding. Whenever he's not, they're terrible. So that's a thing they can solve if they so choose. I think their biggest weakness as a team is a tendency towards ball watching and overhelping, which are, close cousins in some cases. And this is all relative, right? The Thunder are historically amazing at defense in basically every facet. But if there is a way to take advantage of them, it's to throw so much movement at them that some of their guys either gamble when they shouldn't, and that would be your Alex Caruso's or your Jalen Williams, or just get caught a little mesmerized, perhaps, by everything going around them, lose track of their man, and somebody springs free on the perimeter. And that would be more Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And one thing that I noticed in watching the regular season meetings again between these teams is like the Pacers did get some good looks from three, particularly attacking Shai with whoever Shai was guarding, just having him run. And Shai eventually would lose his man a couple times. Haliburton, notably, a few different times. The Pacers didn't always hit those looks, but the opportunities are there. And the Pacers are going to have to make a lot of shots. They're going to have to take and make a lot of shots this series. And I don't mean that just literally. Like, they're going to have to take some gambles of their own. They're going to have to take some strategic gambles. They're going to have to figure out ways to leverage the Thunder's strengths against them. And I think this is one, right? Like, the Thunder thrive on chaos. They're out there forcing turnovers left and right. But by necessity, they're doing a lot of gambling. They're doing a lot of helping and aggressive helping and recovery. And my favorite stat in that regard is that against Minnesota, the Thunder allowed the Timberwolves to get up 15.8 corner three-pointers per game. In the regular season, the team that led the league was Phoenix, and they generated only 11.8, right? Like, the corner three for most defenses is like something you want to protect, a guard. You don't want to allow teams to shoot from the corner three. It's a very efficient shot. Even role players are generally pretty adept at it. Oklahoma City is so confident in their abilities to get out and recover and contest these shots. And they also are like, hey, we just can help fix our own defensive rebounding issues and cut off the paint from people like Anthony Edwards or, Rudy Gobert in some cases on the boards, that we don't really care if people are getting okay-ish shots from the corners that we're going to be sprinting hard out at. So they will give up some shots with their tendencies to overhelp and occasionally their tendencies to ball watch. Indiana simply has to make these at a high clip, something they've done all season or all playoffs long.